It's the most wonderful time of the year for getting in on all the hoops, football and hockey action at DraftKings Sportsbook. In the season of giving, we're being gifted college football and basketball, pro football and basketball, and pro hockey too, almost 24/7.
So many games every day, so many opportunities to place your first bet. Try betting on something simple like picking a team to win. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app and place your bet. And here's a gift for all new customers. Bet $5 to get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins.
Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code Jenkins. That's code Jenkins for new customers to get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins when you bet just $5. Happy holidays from DraftKings. The crown is yours. Welcome to Jenkins and Jones on the Volume Podcast Network. It is Thursday, December 19th, and your hosts are in various states of hair decay. As we were just discussing with John.
Rather just said that little fuzz started in the back of my shit. I'm like, yeah, it's that time. She was like, don't say it. You know what it don't lay down quite like it used to, bro. Yikes.
Yeah, I'm not gonna look directly down right now with the studio lights because you would see some of it reflecting off of the dome, brother.
I have an off-camera hairline, but not an on-camera hairline. Like it's cool off camera, but on camera, so like, yeah. But back here, bro, when it's here, it might be about that time, brother. You know what I mean?
All right, we're very excited to be joined today by Jason Timpf of Hoops Tonight, our volume teammate. Jason, thank you so much for hopping on, bro.
What's up, guys? It's great to see you. This is one of my favorite shows to come on, so I've been looking forward to this. And we have so much interesting stuff to get into.
We do. I'm just gonna skip straight through the intro, and we're just gonna get right to it. Jokic is a better offensive player than LeBron ever was, my brother.
Put him up.
So I need to clarify something off the top, which is I don't think Jokic is as good as LeBron was at his peak overall. I think there's just a huge transition and defense element with LeBron. And LeBron was nearly this good offensively when he was at his best. The main thing for me, there's this lack of variance that comes with Jokic. You remember with LeBron where it was like, okay, if his jumper's not going in, he's still the best player in the world, but it feels like it's kind of closer. But then on the nights when LeBron had his jumper going, it was like, you just get to lose. Like there was just nothing anybody could do with the guy, right? And because Jokic just depends on so many of these shorter range shots that don't have a lot of variance, there's a stat that Synergy has. It's called score percentage. It just takes the percentage of possessions that end in points. And basically what ends up happening is when you get into these late game situations with Jokic, because there's no variance, because it's all these like little short hook shots and floaters, and even his jump shot, it usually is like a turn and face, like kind of 10, 12 footer kind of thing. He just doesn't have much variance. So he just feels more like a sure thing on a possession by possession to generate offense. And really that's what it is when I watch the Nuggets, regardless of surrounding talent, I can't ever remember watching a player, including LeBron, who made it look this easy to generate great shots. And again, LeBron's close on that front. I just think there was a little bit more variance with LeBron. LeBron, I think, was as good of a playmaker as Jokic. And I think LeBron, in the large sample, was as effective as a scorer. But in the small sample, there's just this thing with Jokic where it's like everything is so methodical and so dependable that it just feels like they scored on 7 straight possessions at the end of that Kings game the other night. 7 possessions in a row. You remember the Jamal Murray game winner in game 2 of the first round series last year? Mm-hmm. They scored on 9 of their last 10 possessions. Like it's so methodical and it's so unstoppable. And that to me is like just that difference. Again, not the same type of player in the big picture, but strictly looking at the lens of creating shots on offense. I don't think I've ever seen anybody do it as easily as he does it.
So your argument would be that Jokic is a more efficient point generator, basically, than LeBron
on the singular possession. So you know how these analytics nerds have just they just dove into this like large sample. We're going to get all these threes and it's going to be worth more points per possession in this massive sample, right? Mm-hmm. Well, like the Jokic thing is all about the small sample because his shots, like he shoots 70% on hooks and floaters, 70%. So like if you leave him in single coverage in the post, it's not just a bucket, it's a bucket damn near every single time. Like LeBron, you remember like when in 2018 he had that like right shoulder fadeaway locked in. Remember that was like his move where it was like if he turned over that right shoulder from 10 to 15 feet, it's like he was hitting it probably like 55% of the time, which is like amazing. And that's what you see from the Kawhis and the KDs. They're in that like mid 50s, low 60s on those types of shots. It's just still not quite as dependable as those short range Jokic shots that he's just so damn good at making, which by the way, if he misses it, he'll probably just bowl into you and grab the offensive rebound, right? And like there's a certain like, oh, you help on Jokic and he's kicking out to people, but that, is more or less the same concept that we got from LeBron when he was younger. But yeah, to me, it's the small sample dependability of Jokic that is a differentiator between him and the rest of the league.
Okay. You're leaning fully on half court offense, it sounds like. And I think one of the to be clear, we're all LeBron guys here, right?
Yeah,
and
yeah,
So am I.
I think Jokic is phenomenal. Yeah, and I know you're a LeBron guy too.
That's the
And
only
we're
reason
Jokic
we'll
guys
have
too.
this
We're
conversation
Jokic guys
with
too.
you.
You know what I'm saying? So
I think Jokic is phenomenal. I think he is a singular talent. I am totally on board with you. If you would consider him the most versatile offensive center we've ever seen. And to your point, I don't think that necessarily makes him better than guys like Akeem or Shaq or whatever. That's a discussion to be had. But I think he's for sure the most versatile offensive center we've ever seen. But as I mentioned, you're discussing a lot of what he does in the half court, and he's fucking surgical in the half court. One of my counters onto why I think LeBron is a better offensive player is that he was a weapon in full court and transition, right? Like Bron with a head of steam and transition was the scariest fucking sight in the NBA for like 15 years. And
maybe in any sport, Tyler.
Right. And still in his old age, there's still some times where he's got a head of steam and he's still a freight train, right? And I think that is an area where LeBron, has a checks a box that Jokic doesn't. I'm willing to concede that Jokic is a better passer than LeBron. And I say that as a guy who had that as a bullet point on my PowerPoint presentation for why I think LeBron was a GOAT, right? Like that was always one of my bullet points, is that I think Bron is the best passing non-point guard we've ever seen. And I think Jokic has supplanted LeBron there. I think it's Jokic, Bron, and Bird there, right? But of course, I don't think that he's better in transition in the full court. I'll be willing to hear you out that he's perhaps more surgical in the half court, but I don't know. We've seen what Bron has done with his supporting cast. Like, take a look at that 2008-2009 roster. He won 66 games with those dudes. He won 66 games with 2009 Ben Wallace starting. You know what I mean?
Like Williams was the second best player on that team, bro.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
It's
where is that? I just want to drive home though, because Tyler talked about this when we were talking before we recorded yesterday. Whereas with Jokic, we're talking about like, can they recover from losing Bruce Brown? Can they recover? Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's not losing Dwayne Wade. He's losing guys that would have been the best dude Bron played with in Cleveland, but he just was doing it, like you said, with Mo Williams was Robin. You know what I mean?
Do we think that the 08, 09 LeBron is best LeBron? I think it's 2018 LeBron. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
I think 2012, 2013 Bron is the best regular season Bron, and I think 2018 Bron is the best postseason Bron.
That's a good take. That's a really good take because his motor in 2013 and like LeBron was like attacking every regular season game like a playoff game back then. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. I just feel like a player. What would like Mike was saying? What could Jokic do with the players that Bron had back in the day? And I think I think as he's a great passer, but Bron not only passed well, like the way he created for other players. You know what I mean? Like other players had their best years with Bron. We could so many other players did. So I just feel like when it comes to offensive, I'm thinking of like, he even lifted up his teammates in a way Joker didn't. You know what I'm saying? So he might not be a better passer, but I think he's a better creator for others. You know what I'm saying? And I think with his brain, watching Bron live for the first time, he was playing the Hawks. And Kevin Love was in the corner, and it was like he threw the ball before the defense shifted. Like, you know what I'm saying? And as the defense shifted, the ball zoomed by them. And I was like, does he know them more than them niggas know themselves? Like, you know what I'm saying? It's crazy. You know what I mean? Live, it just seems so unreal. but I just feel like the levels he could go to as well. Like, do you remember the game where Ray Allen, I think was it game 6? When Ray Allen hit that shot, or game 5?
Yeah, game 6.
Game 6,
Game 6, yes. The moments leading up to that, where Bron put his head down when they were down like 10, it seemed like this game was over, the series was done.
One of his best games,
and he was like, fuck everything. I remember like
he lost that headband and hasn't worn it since.
Bro,
like, that was literally the last time he wore a headband in an NBA game, dog.
On some nerd shit, I was like, Optimus Bron! Like, I just yelled at speaking, bro. Because the man put his head down and like, the fucking team was on the other end of that. You know what I'm saying? Kawhi, like, these are guys. And he was like, I don't give a fuck who you are. Get out the way. We're taking this over. Joker is so good. You know what I mean? But I believe where Bron could go and what he did for others, as well as a transition, it's just hard for me to say somebody's a better offensive player than Bron. But your points make sense. Like the reliability. But like people like Tim Duncan, like it seemed like whenever Tim Duncan got the ball at his peak, bucket. And he had that same little within 15 feet, you know what I'm saying? He had that off the glass joint, which was, I don't know what the percentage was, but it felt like 1,000%, nigga, you know what I'm saying? But like, yeah, like I just feel like, you know, there have been players similar to Joker in the reliability is what you're saying. But on the offensive end as a whole, I've just never seen anybody do what Bron's done. And I would say even with reliability or like just scoring in general, I think Jordan's the best scorer I've ever seen. You know what I mean? Like there were years
scoring,
like, pure scoring alone. So if we're talking about that, I think Jordan would be number one. But yeah, but I wonder like what your approach is too, because you didn't mention Jordan as far as like how do you feel about Jordan? Because you didn't mention Jordan as far as the athletes when you were bringing up like as far as Kobe, Bron, all this.
When I saw the clip, I was like, oh, I left MJ out. But yeah, like obviously MJ belongs. The couple things. First of all, that 2013 Game 6, I remember as a kid. That was back in my First Take watching days when I used to wake up in the morning and watch First Take, just like all of us did, you know.
Different time.
And like,
different time,
yeah,
man.
and like I remember being so annoyed with Skip Bayless because Skip was like, "Oh, well, he had these 2 turnovers at the end, and Ray Allen saved his life, and he missed the 3 before." And it's like, well, first of all, he made the 3 before the Ray Allen 3 that gave the Ray Allen 3 a chance to tie the game. Secondly, like that series was over. They were down double figures or double digits. It was over. Everyone in the arena knew it was over. Everyone watching on TV is like, this team is dead. Like the Spurs are going to win. And then, like you said, LeBron literally saved that game. Like he just. Like, and so this is where I actually have to say, Tyler, your take about transition has made me want to kind of modify my take a bit, because I do think that Jokic in the half court just makes it look easier to a small degree than LeBron did. But like, especially in that 2000, that Miami Heat phase, LeBron would have these stretches. I don't know if you guys remember this, and tell me if this kind of rings a bell. But like it always felt like LeBron would have these like 5 to 7 minute stretches in big playoff games where he'd kind of hit the jets as an athlete. And it was like, oh, he just blocked somebody at the rim and now he's flying down the floor in transition and drawing 3 bodies on like a gather around the basket and then pitching it out to Shane Battier in the left corner for 3. And then he's running back and he's making another help side rotation and he's getting another defensive rebound and he's running down the floor and he's scoring and then he's running down the floor and he's dishing it off to Chris Bosh. And it's like he would have these stretches where he would literally push in transition every single possession, like 6, 7, 8 times in a row, and get great shots. And like, I do think Jokic is a good transition player because he actually like outruns a lot of the more athletic centers in the league just because he runs hard every single possession. And then 2, he's just really good at kick ahead passes. But LeBron in his prime was another level of transition offensive player. I'll give you that. And so like, and to be clear, again, I still think that Jokic was bad defensively last year in the playoffs. He was pretty good in 2023 when they won the title, but he was bad last year. It's been uneven this year in the regular season. In the big picture, I still think there's a pretty decent gap between where and by the way, Jokic is about to win his 4th MVP in 5 years. So like, let's be clear, like he's doing something that the last guy who did it was LeBron. Like this is the type of all-time great that we're witnessing.
They put a cap on Bron and they did not put it on Joker though.
That's true. And LeBron definitely, like LeBron, there are some MVPs that I think people just say LeBron deserved and he probably didn't, but there are definitely some where I thought he deserved. I mean, I thought he deserved 2020 as recently as 2020. But like again, I think in the big picture, LeBron is clearly a better player. But when you just focus on like that half court offense piece, I've literally never seen anybody make it look as easy as he makes it look. He's always playing on 2 feet. He's always on the ground. He doesn't ever look tired. It's the weirdest thing.
Weird.
This is the one thing that's weird to me about Jokic, and I wonder what you guys think. How much of this do you think is the changes of the game in transition and in pace and space to where we just don't have that many big-bodied centers anymore, so no one's big enough for him? Yeah. Like, what if Jokic played in the late 90s, early 2000s, where we constantly had 2 big looks and all the centers were 300 pounds?
His nose would go in 8 different directions because he would have been getting busted in the face trying to stand at the free throw line and look around to pass. I mean, it's just, yes, like I do think that's part of it with Joker is if you created a player to fit into the efficiency model of the current NBA, he's who you would create. Braun, you put his offensive game from 1950 to tomorrow, I think he's as dominant in basically every era. You know what I mean? I do think that's part of it for me.
Yeah,
that's a good point. He needs to be bigger.
I think to this day, the defender who I've seen give him the most trouble in the playoffs was bubble Dwight Howard. And Dwight Howard was 58 years old at that time. You know what I mean? So I think he's for sure, benefiting from how the game has evolved a bit.
Cat gave him issues. Naz Reid gave him issues. We've seen Joel Embiid.
Like the 2 bigs of the Timberwolves. That's like sort of the exact story when he can't do the dunker spot lob to Aaron Gordon and he has a 7-footer on him. It's a little bit limiting when he's going against teams.
It seems like it's more than size, though. It's also athleticism. You know what I'm saying? Because Dwight's dummy athletic. Nas is athletic as fuck. Cat is there as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And there were some pretty athletic centers back then as well as they had the size too. So
to be clear though, like he also annihilated them in Game 5, like for one of the greatest playoff performances in the history of the league. So like the thing is like I'm not saying like, oh, if Jokic played in a league with bigger centers, he wouldn't be good. I'm just saying it probably wouldn't look as easy and he probably wouldn't be as dominant. I do think that's a fair point.
The other thing I just wanted to drive home, because I do occasionally like to throw the like caveman like basketball approach. Like I think all of the arguments you're making are 100% true and totally make sense when viewing the game through the lens of efficiency. And I completely agree with you. I watched that whole Kings game. You could see in the same way that Braun would decide, I'm going to break records on Earth for land mammals of force displacement, of like how fast you can move 270 pounds of muscle. You can see Jokic click into like robot mode. Like, all right, we're going to score on every, okay, how much time is left? Okay, now is when we need to score on every possession for the rest of the game. I'm just going to make sure that we do that 70%, everything you're saying.
If Denver's down 8 with 4 minutes left, it doesn't feel like the game is over. It's crazy.
It feels like, yeah. And so I would almost argue that's one of the like viewership things I have with the efficiency model of the NBA is like, so should I just turn the game on with 4 minutes left? Like when I'm watching the Nuggets. But what I would say is this: it has never been the case, other than through sort of like analytical discussions, that efficiency was the most valued thing about basketball. It's always been about emotion and about passion, because it is physically, scientifically proven that the more efficient way to shoot free throws will be underhanded. Like based on how the ball bounces, if it's coming from that angle, it would be more efficient. And not one person in the National Basketball Association is willing to do the most efficient thing,
to cut off their nuts and shoot under them.
And so that's an extreme. That's an extreme example. That's an extreme example. Like I'm not, I don't mean to be judgmental about Jokic. I'm just saying. So that to me is the proof that that's not the goal, and like that's why you don't see the allegiance to Tim Duncan that you see to Kobe Bryant, even though by every analytical model you would say Tim Duncan was a more efficient player. But there is a like cult around Kobe because of what he inspired in people. And I do personally just have that with Braun over Jokic, and always will, because like I've never felt what I felt when he would be in transition and you'd just be like, try and take a charge, please, I'm begging you.
There were times when he would get the rebound, release, take off, and beat everybody down court and boom that bitch. I'm like, what the fuck? Did y'all see what just happened?
Yeah, there
You
was
know
a
what I
Knicks
mean?
game in Knicks game in like 2013 or 2014 where he got a defensive rebound and all 5 Knicks were in front of him and he just ran through all of them and dunked it. Yeah, and all the Knicks media people were pissed. They're like, "He's outrunning us. We're being lazy." I'm like, it's LeBron James.
And that's the thing. Like, if
Yeah.
they would have ran full speed, it wouldn't have helped. And I think they understand that more because they're seeing him, right next, but like it was just insane where there was points where just nobody could do anything. And I know Joker has the same. This like nobody can do anything with Joker. He does what he wants on the basketball court, but I don't know with Bron, it just seemed a different level. Even just going off the offensive side, the Joker hasn't quite reached to me. But also, I was younger. I was way more obsessed. You know what I mean? And so
yeah,
during that time
are we
period,
gonna be the guys?
Yeah.
Are we gonna be the guys just like the MJ guys who are like, no, he's not as good. He's not as good. Like,
Yes.
is that gonna be us in
I
10
don't
years?
I don't know. I don't know if I will be that guy. I think I'm that guy now. I don't know if I will care. I don't know if I'll care enough to be that guy in the future. You know what I mean? But I still care enough. You know what I'm saying now. So
I think like.
but your points they're good points. They're good points. You know what I'm saying? Like everything you said, I agreed with. But I just didn't feel like, you know what I mean? My emotions weren't validated in your, you know what I'm saying?
Jokic doesn't have the cultural resonance that LeBron did.
Yeah.
That's just a fact.
Yeah.
Like, there's no doubt that like Jokic does it in a way that's very boring. Like, no one wants to see a little short half hook, every single time down the floor. But like, that's how he dominates you.
It's kind of there is an element of it, and I want to emphasize again because I know I do occasionally sound like I'm being a Jokic hater. In full appreciation of his greatness, it does feel a little bit like watching a dad play basketball against his middle school kid. Like the middle school kid could be very talented, and you're just gonna put your ass on him and pin him under the block and get so there is an element of that. Whereas with Braun, down 3, 2 minutes left, dribbling the ball at the top of the key, you're like, anything can happen right now. You know what I mean?
He was a superhuman. He wasn't just a dad playing in middle school. He was a different type of human. It seemed like, you know what I mean? When we watched,
I also
when
think
the young LeBron clips come up, still to this day they shock me. Like, which is crazy because I grew up watching it, but like, still to this day I'll watch like the dunk on James Johnson and I'll be like, oh my god! Like if we saw that today, we would lose it for a week. Like, what the hell? Like it's crazy.
And that's what I think is sort of the unquantifiable element of LeBron James is the athleticism at that size. Like that can vault you above a lot of things. Like you can throw Gobert and Cat against Jokic, and he has the brain to figure it out or whatever. But there was a certain at every position, defensively also, like in every part of basketball, if you are a supreme, the best athlete in the NBA, you can overcome a lot of challenges that you might not be able to otherwise. Like there's just and that's almost not quantifiable. It's like a singular moment. If you doesn't matter who you put in front of LeBron James and the 2012 version of him, he's a better athlete than them, period.
Like in the
That's Giannis,
which is right. There's like a certain
Yep.
What Giannis did to OKC. Like Shea's the best shot maker, one of the best shot makers in the league, except for you end up in this game. And guess what? It's not a shot making game. It's a bloodbath. So who's the bigger, better athlete? Who's going to do a better job bowling over everybody? And it's like Giannis was so much better than Shea in that game.
Yeah.
And it's just because it was that type of game. And to your point, Jackson, and this is something I'm leaning on a lot more as we've become more of a transition league and more of a play in space, like space teams out driving kick type of team. You gotta be one of those athletes. And it really does make that big of a difference.
Braun is like a historical type of athlete. And it's just every 3 decades or whatever, like Wilt Chamberlain running the 800 in 2 minutes, or I think his mile time was 4 minutes 45 seconds. We're not gonna get one of those every 3 years. You know what I mean? Like you get a couple of those a century, and Braun, I just think, is that. And where there is the analytical approach to GMs can't build plans around. Maybe we get the one guy every 50 years who has that type of body. I'm just very comfortable as a fan being like, I don't give a fuck how hard you work or how good the plan is. I just know if you can't do something that this dude could do, then, again, if people who saw Wilt Chamberlain live, of course they think everyone else sucks. He's 7 foot tall. He could high jump 45 feet or whatever. and he could run a mile in 4 minutes. Like, of course you would not let anyone else think like, you look at Shaq and go, he's fat. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. That's part of it too.
Well,
Okay.
Ja Morant is like this too, where like when you have that type of next level athlete, it kind of breaks the game in a lot of ways. I was digging into this for my mailbag episode, and I had seen the Thinking Basketball guys do it, but like Memphis doesn't run pick and roll. Like they do occasionally, but they do it a tiny fraction as often as the rest of the league because their entire offense literally is predicated on the fact that no one can keep Ja Morant in front. So
Right.
he
slows
just
it
dribbles
down
up the
to put him in
floor.
a-
Right.
They literally watch the next time you watch the Grizzlies, just watch their offense. Ja dribbles up the floor and beats his man off the dribble, and they play off of that. That's literally their offense. But it's because he's a transcendently great athlete. Like he makes every team is putting their best guard defender on him, and nobody can keep him in front.
Yeah. So to transition into topic 2, the one thing that I think obviously we've never seen anything in any sport like LeBron's longevity. And I do think as Lakers fans and LeBron guys, which we have a mixture of those two things on the pod, obviously, been a real bummer of a year. Jason,
killed
how
my
do you,
spirit, Mike.
yeah, I know, but how do you feel about, you can talk about the Lakers angle, but I just think we've talked a few times on the pod about we were 19 the last time LeBron was not a dominant NBA player, and you are starting to see signs of just age that we have not seen before, whether it's the turnovers, whether it's the sort of loss of verticality. How are you feeling about that? Just on an emotional level, just checking in on our friend. You know what I mean? Like, how are you handling that?
I had this point of view about it was right after the year they made it to the Western Conference Finals. And going into that summer, I was of the belief that they needed to trade D'Angelo Russell to bring in an athletic perimeter player to bolster LeBron and AD, because Bruce Brown in particular, but also Christian Brown and KCP kind of just kicked the shit out of all the Laker guards in the sweep when they were in the Western Conference Finals. And it became abundantly clear,
KCP.
yeah, exactly. And so there was this ideology, and it was being reported. It was like actually coming out from the Rob Pelinka himself in like the preseason presser. But he's like, we got one shot to do this. We got to find the right deal, blah, 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 all this kind of stuff. And at the time I was saying, okay, like, all right, LeBron is 38. He's going to turn 39 this year. Obviously now we're a year forward. He's going to turn 40 here in 9 days. But like he was 38 at the time. And I was like, you have to do something now, because any increased value that comes from you being patient and finding the right deal is going to be undercut by his decline. Here's where I'm pissed off. Last year in April, LeBron was literally playing like the third or fourth best player in the league. After the All-Star break, he was like 28, 8, and 10 on like 67% true shooting. Like he was just outrageously good. AD was kicking ass. They were like both playing at a top 5 or 6 level. And they literally outplayed the Nuggets the majority of that series, and 2 Jamal Murray game winners swung it in Denver's favor. The Lakers led that series like 75% of the game clock. And they were like, it was a lot closer than it looked in the 4-1. And all I could think of is like, God, I hope this isn't the last chance they have, because now LeBron looks considerably less good than he was last year in April. He might finally be reaching the end of the rope here. We'll see. I'm sure he'll have some more to say this year. But like, all I can think about is like, okay, that Minnesota team like really fell apart against rim protection. That was the team you play if you beat Denver. You run the exact same scheme that Dallas did against them. They probably fall apart offensively because Ant was cutting them up because he was going against Nurkic and Jokic, 2 guys that can't protect the rim. Anthony Davis would have been hell for Anthony Edwards to deal with in that series. And then if you remember, the way Luka killed them was he's too big and strong for Jaden McDaniels. Guess who else is too big and strong for Jaden McDaniels? LeBron James. Yeah. And I just kept thinking like they could have gone to the finals last year if they had 2 substantial role player upgrades. Like D'Lo was a 0 in that series. Rui was a 0. If D'Lo and Rui were upgraded to like Bruce Brown and Dorian Finney-Smith or something like that, they could have beat Denver, beat Minnesota, been in the finals. Who knows what happens, right? So like maybe they end up losing to Boston anyway. But like the thing is like now I'm looking at it And I feel like the last great chance was last year, and they still haven't made a deal. And now I'm not even sure it's worth it. And so I honestly am kind of discouraged because I feel like the tail end of LeBron's career has just been horribly mismanaged. And I feel like a lot of good basketball was wasted. And like I've been pretty critical of LeBron and AD because I think that they have a tendency to not bring it in the regular season the way you need to establish championship habits. I think LeBron, it's his age, because when he was younger, he did do it.
Yeah.
And then with AD has always had a little bit of a motor issue. Sometimes AD goes out there and he just doesn't feel like playing that hard. And so because of that, I think I've been critical of them, but I also sympathize with them in the sense that like they probably don't have a ton of belief. And I wonder how much, if they did have belief, they would be more willing to fight. And so that's where I feel like not investing in this group was such a big mistake. And honestly, now, man, it just kind of feels like a sad part of LeBron's story, doesn't it?
I mean, he did get the chip there. What do you
He
think
got
about
one,
JJ
yeah.
though? Yeah. What do you think about JJ? How do you
I
feel
think he's
about
fine.
that? Yeah.
He's fine. It's way too early to like determine whether or not a guy like that is a good coach or not. Just we don't have enough of a sample. A lot of encouraging stuff. Their offensive organization has been better. Specifically, they've been really good with off-ball action, which is something that they weren't using in the past. And then they've incorporated some of the modern concepts using AD as kind of a fulcrum at the top of the key with guards cutting off of him. They've gotten a lot of good stuff out of that. He went with a switching scheme early in the season, which I disagree with because switching typically requires a lot of athleticism 1 through 5 because you need guys to help each other rebound and you need lots of guys that can guard. That's not a team that has a lot of guys that can rebound and guard. So you kind of need to run drop schemes or schemes that keep LeBron and AD by the basket so they can cover for the lesser athletes on the perimeter. But to JJ's credit, he tried it for like 20 games. He realized it wasn't working, and he's been shifting back to traditional coverages in the last couple of weeks. So, like, I've liked what I've seen so far. He's active coaching on the sideline. I like what I've seen so far, but there's just so much more to this story, and we need to see a larger sample. But here's the thing: he's certainly a better coach than Darvin Ham was. I think that's
Facts.
abundantly clear up the top.
Not in the NBA Cup though.
The Darvin Ham invitation. Yeah, I mean, he's what the fourth coach in 5 years for LA. Like, it's I mean, of course, I don't think Darvin Ham was the guy, but it's for sure been a roster personnel issue with why I think
For
the
sure.
Lakers squad is falling short.
Mm.
I've talked
Yeah.
about this before, but I think once they the Westbrook trade and getting rid of Vogel, like when they panicked after the 21, the year after the chip,
Yeah.
they panicked when Bron was hurt, AD was hurt, and they didn't perform like they wanted to, and they switched everything up. That ruined everything. You know what I mean? I think it's just they've been fighting an uphill battle since, and with Bron getting older, I haven't had the same type of confidence in them since they made that decision.
You literally have to support LeBron and AD with athleticism. You have to. And honestly, like, this is the thing. Like, I always feel like it's trouble when you start criticizing people in like coaching positions or front office positions unless you kind of provide like a case. Otherwise, you're just being a dick. You know what I mean? But like I with Rob, the thing that has bothered me the most is I genuinely don't understand like what his basketball vision is. Because he's done something different every single offseason. And quite frankly, every single smart GM in the league is leaning on these perimeter athletes. The reason why is because, again, so on a basic level, if you take a team's half-court offense, they're typically between 0.9 points per possession and like maybe 1.1 points per possession. Transition offense is typically between 1.1 points per possession and 1.3 points per possession. It's a simple math concept, which is why every team talks about playing faster. We got to play faster. We got to get out in transition because we're going to literally increase the efficiency of our offense by 20% on these possessions where we push in transition, right? Then in like what we've seen with Boston, when you master spacing and you learn how to generate quality three-point shots, there are ways to kind of like improve your offensive efficiency. So having athletes that can guard in space and play in the open floor of transition is now absolutely vital. And if you look at the Laker roster, they don't have a single starting caliber athlete that plays on the perimeter. Jared Vanderbilt, really good athlete, but he's a defensive specialist who should be coming off the bench, right? Max Christie, really good athlete, but he's a young guard who should be coming off the bench. They don't have athletes. And like, you look around the league, look at Oklahoma City, look at all their athletes, man. Look at Golden State, look at all their athletes, look at the Clippers, all their athletes. The Clippers and the Hawks have been winning because they have athletes next to guys like Trae Young. Yeah, Houston's a great example. Boston's a great, like, you have to be. And like, it literally feels to me like Rob Pelinka just doesn't understand these like pretty basic basketball concepts because he just hasn't been supporting them in that way.
Great stuff.
All very sad.
Mike's about to go cry. He's about to like, I need a break. Let's take an intermission. You feel what I'm saying?
All right. Let's talk about the All-Star format. I'm gonna preface it by saying this. My son is 11. He's become a huge NBA junkie. He asked me yesterday what I thought of the new All-Star game format. And this is what I said. I said, explain it to me. And he had to go get his phone so that he could read the specific language of the 4-team tournament, et cetera, et cetera. And then he was like, wait, if the Rising Stars are playing, does that mean that Saturday's not going to be? No, okay, this says Saturday's going to be going. Do you guys think it's a good idea that they are taking an All-Star game that feels like it's losing its primacy, just the like ability to watch it and be excited about it? Do you think it's a good fix to make it as complicated as possible?
I think the idea, there's some intelligence in it in the sense that like shortening the game is important. If you're playing to 40 rather than playing for 48 minutes, I think that might have a play role in like, hey, just let's fast break dunk to 40 just seems foolish, right? And I also think including a young team might help because we're not losing to those guys. You know, you want that to kind of click in a little bit and engage some competitiveness. But I feel the same way about this that I feel about like Nick Wright's idea with dunks being threes or Bill Simmons' idea of getting rid of corner threes or like all of these different ideas where it's like everyone's coming up with these ideas to try to improve the quality of the product. But the real problem is urgency. We have 82 games and we let 20 of the 30 teams in. So you can literally shit the bed for a month and it doesn't matter. So like, it doesn't matter what you do to the rules. They're not going to play harder. That's the main problem. The same thing goes with the All-Star game. Like I even heard Devin Booker. He's like, you know, I kind of have an issue with this because it feels like it's kind of messing with the history. And I'm like, okay, I hear you, but back then they played harder. So you're being disrespectful to the history of what was taking place in this game in the past. But like at the end of the day, if they're not going to play hard, it doesn't matter what the format is. It doesn't matter if they do 1-on-1, 3-on-3, 5-on-5, 48 minutes, all the different rule changes they could do. It's just not going to matter unless the guys go out there and compete against each other because that's what we want to see.
It's just really quick. That's the point about the Rising Stars. They're trying to legislate pride. They're trying to legislate these guys to care. And we were talking about it before we started recording. Don't you feel like David Stern just would have had a meeting that was like, tell me what it is. I'll give you any dollar amount, whatever else. But when you walk out of the room, you're going to tell everyone you can't wait to fucking play in the All-Star game and you're going to bust someone's ass. Yet, like, I'm not going to roll something out and then have Kevin Durant and Devin Booker and like big stars saying, yeah, I don't know. The format looks horrible.
In particular, these players are so fucking rich, though. What amount of money would you have to put out there? You know what I mean? For
They're
these
still
guys,
doing commercials.
$500K, right?
They're
Guys,
still doing commercials. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, it's not enough. Like, Braun's doing pistachios commercials or whatever with Kevin Hart. Like, so money must mean something to them still. And I don't know if it's money or if it's an incentive, whatever it is. But like, you know, my thing was always like, don't you feel like David Stern, if he's here, is running it a little bit more like a mob boss? And I feel like Adam Silver is running it like he's an MLB or NFL commissioner, where it's the team corporations that he's keeping happy. And the NBA is really about getting buy-in from like 5 to 10 guys.
Players.
It's a different job. And I don't feel like I don't feel like there's any mystique around him or even a slight edge of fear. Like, I mean, even the biggest stars in the game at the time would talk about, man, David Stern called you. You got that little, your heart started beating a little bit, you know?
We were talking about this. Could Silver run it the way that David Stern did, being that not only the NBA has changed, the players have changed, but society's changed?
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
he had
being
a
a dick's
wait,
not as
go ahead.
cool as it used to be.
You know what I mean? You're just a dick. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not the guy. It's like, fuck you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, could he move? I mean, but maybe you need a commissioner that doesn't care if it's fuck you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That doesn't care. Like, in order to keep the business the way it is, to keep people like, yo, we'll do what we have to do, not necessarily what people want to be done. You know what I'm saying? I don't know.
Well, so let's look at the money though, because I thought that I have liked the in-season tournament. There are some things that I think they could tweak, and some of it can be weird at times. But like the in-season tournament elimination games were by far the hardest played basketball
fun.
games that I watched this year.
Fun.
Like the final score in that Thunder Bucks game was like what 95-82 or something. Like if those same two teams played next week on Thursday in Milwaukee, both teams would score over 110 points. Like they're playing way harder. So like let's pretend that we're doing like a volume celebrity pickup game, right? And we're just messing around. Let's pretend they put $5,000 per player to the winning. Like we're going to compete now. Now I'm going at you. You know what I mean? Because like that's the thing. Like it's not life-changing money for these guys, but $500K is a lot of money, and they might go after it. And so like my thing is like it would be cheaper too, because in the in-season tournament they have to give $250K to the losers. I think you could do something like that where it's like, okay, we have $6 million cash for these 12 players on the winning team. Go get the money. Play for the money. I think they would. It's kind of shitty that we have to give them money.
That's crazy. That's some David Stern shit.
Yeah. But seriously, but that's the thing. Like it sucks that we would have to do that to get them to play hard. But if that's what it takes, like, because here's the thing. Do you guys remember the first Elam ending game, the one where LeBron or AD won it with free throws, but it was LeBron versus Giannis? And like, do you remember how competitive that was? Like,
that was
when you
so
actually
much fun.
see these guys try hard against each other, it is an incredible television product. That we have to chase that somehow. You know what I mean?
They were taking charges in game.
Yes.
You know what I
Kyle
mean?
Lowry,
Like,
fucking Kyle Lowry,
putting his body on the line.
Bro, I'm still mad at Kyle Lowry for what he did at the end of that game.
I just like, whether it's money or whatever else, like I don't think we as fans, like, yes, you could say it's I agree with you that there's a level of it being sad, particularly when you have people like Devin Booker. I thought it's disrespectful to history. I thought that was a bullshit comment because of what you just said. Like, it's not and I'm always on the player side of any dispute ever, but it is like, you're the ones we're annoyed at, bro. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, that is the case. No one's sitting here going, Adam Silver is not getting these guys to play hard enough. We're saying everyone, including non-old people, are saying like this generation, whatever else. But so if they have to pay him to get him to play hard, they just signed an 11 year, $76 billion television deal. You have the money to convince 20 guys to play hard one night. Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? I just like, if it's money, if it's the fuck you incentive, whatever it is, like I do think if you're going to legislate the pride, if they're going to try and do that, I'd be more interested in the USA versus the world format. I think you could generate some pride there. I think that obviously worked very well during the Olympics. It's just the difference in the Olympics was the guys cared about it.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you saw the best players of their generation playing together with passion, we all felt something. I mean, we talked about it over the summer. How many NBA games on average make you feel, even in the playoffs, the way you felt during the Olympics? Like that's the problem to me, is we should still be getting that with the All-Star game, and we're not getting it. I don't know if they can, write the check or legislate it or whatever, but it just, I don't know. It honestly bums me out, because that used to be one of my favorite nights of the year. Like I would look forward to that.
That whole weekend.
Have you guys gone back to watch the YouTube video of the Serbia game yet? Have any of you guys taken the time to do it yet?
No.
Do it one of these days. It'll bring back the feels immediately. I can't remember a time where I felt like that as a basketball fan. That was pretty incredible.
Tyler, what would you do with the All-Star weekend? Do you think there's any chance that this format succeeds, or what do you think about it?
I mean, I'm not mad with them trying shit right now, because for one, like I'm just not going to be on the side of of disrespecting the All-Star game. Like, we don't give a shit about the All-Star game. Those scores are like 170 to 172 at the end, right? Like, so yeah, I'm fine with them trying to incentivize competitiveness in however way they work. And I think that this little 14 tournament or what have you, sponsored by Castor Oil, is gonna be pretty cool. I'm actually looking forward to it.
I think the tournament will also be cool, and here's my idea. I feel like these players are so rich now that like $100,000 gained or whatever is like not motivating them to the point that we want it to motivate them to. But, and this would never get agreed to by the CBA or by the players or whatever, but I think losing money
Oh my God,
hurts more than
That's
gaining money
hilarious.
improves your life, right? And so these guys, I
Fine.
looked it up. Every All-Star from 2023 is going to get a 9-figure contract at some point in their life, right? So these guys are insanely rich. I'm not saying they need to lose millions of dollars, but if you were like the losing player on each team has to pay 50 grand to a player on the winning team, I think that is incentivizing people a lot more than winning 500.
I think these dudes
so
are
it's-
too rich to be addicted to gambling now, though, bro. I don't
They
know.
all
that
have to
anyone
write
will go for
checks.
that.
They all
I
have to
want
write
them to
their
write
checks
it out
right after the
in
game.
person.
No,
I want
but
them
if
to
they're
write to them a
handing-
check.
If
Or
they're
hand
bro,
them
yes,
cash.
if they're handing 50K over or Zelle, I don't
Like,
even think Zelle that much. I ain't rich.
If I told you losing
know what I'm
50
saying?
bucks like
you know
that
what I mean?
to your
Like-
buddy, that hurts a lot more than
But maybe,
winning
yeah,
200 bucks
bro.
from like God or whatever. Like,
All-Star games, 4 p.m. on Saturday. Bring $100,000 in cash.
bring cash with
Bro.
bring a briefcase
bring-
with
bring
Everyone
a bag of
stacks it.
ones.
You stack it up by the hoop.
right. You put it on right at the center court mark, right on the right in front
Even
of the
if it's
announcers. Just a
duffel
bag of cash.
stacked up in the locker room.
The
You're
winning
not
team
gonna
gets
see
to,
Braun
gets
wanna
to throw
get-
the
yes.
cash in the air afterwards, bro. I
I'm
want
not gonna want to
cash
see
on the
Braun
court.
hand over. Braun's not handing 50,000 over to Giannis. You know what I mean?
Hell
Like
no.
he's
So,
playing
Yeah, but that's the
his
thing.
ass off,
That's
for
the
sure.
reason why this works. This has been, I don't know about you guys where you're from, but like money tournaments are kind of a big deal out here. Where in like the Arizona, California, we do a lot of money tournaments, and like every team shows up, they pitch in money, and then the winner takes all of it minus what it takes to pay for the refs in the court, and that kind of thing. Like that's what it is, and like that's always been a part of basketball culture. We play for money. Like I'm 100% with you, Jackson.
If seeing Giannis pull up to McDonald's recording himself with a $50,000 duffel buckled into his passenger side, talking shit.
LeBron
thank
gave me
you,
this
Brian.
shit.
Appreciate you, bro. You know what I mean? You can buy a lot of chicken nuggets with this shit. You know what I'm saying? Hey,
These
that might- that might
200,000
move
nuggets are on LeBron.
Right. I'm gonna throw in a Sprite in there just for you, man. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Anthony
like,
Edwards
dog.
getting 50 grand from Kevin Durant. Are you kidding me?
Oh my god!
Are
He
you
would
kidding
talk so
me?
much shit, dude.
Talking so much shit. I'm not mad at it, bro. Because there's a
And-
chance they can
yeah.
win that 50K. So it's not like they're
Mhm.
just, you know what I mean? So
Yeah, it's there to be had. Ant talk like Ant talking as much shit as he's been talking, like him celebrating at Oracle, during the fourth quarter of a game. I think that's so important because it breeds animosity, and animosity is one of the few things that will get these guys to play hard in the regular season.
for sure.
Steph goes night and says, "Run me 50K down the court." Like, come on.
Yeah,
Come on.
I think hate inspires most people more than positive affirmations if we're giving it
This
to
is-
me. We could talk all day. We're like, yes, but nigga, if you throw some hate, I want to prove you wrong.
The only
making
lesson
somebody
Twitter has
eat,
taught us.
making somebody eat their words is much more inspiring than, you know what I'm saying?
Somebody tweet
Hmm.
economy. That's the quote tweet
Right.
economy, bro. We're electing presidents off that theory that you just said right now.
Maybe,
Yeah.
yeah. Jesus Christ. Is that where we in?
bro, you saw the Chris Christie AI image. Like he's making hate like mainstream, man.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you got the president-elect is doing AI images of Chris Christie get fat eating McDonald's, bro. Like that, like hate pays, brother. Yeah.
that.
Do we want to end it there? Anything from the chat, Jackson?
They're just talking about what the players would do with 50K. You know how seeing Braun hand over 50K to anybody would be an absolutely insane sight.
I'm trying to think of
Right,
like what
man.
would be the funniest combo of someone having.
I
to
know.
pay
I was trying to think
someone
about
else.
it too.
Where are you guys at on the NBA rating stuff?
We've been talking about it. We've been trying to have, the goal has been to have conversations about it where we don't just blame things that we don't like about them, because that's what everyone's been
Yeah.
doing on Twitter, right?
Mhm.
Like, I don't like the ref shoes. oh, the ref shoes are why the ratings are down in the NBA. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But I feel like we've had fairly non-reactionary conversations, but I just we're all circling around the drain of the same argument, which is what you just said. They're trying to figure out how to get the guys to play hard.
But
That's
we
a
agree,
hard
like we
argument.
don't think. But do you guys agree that it has more to do with urgency than it does with like some teams taking bad threes or like the officiating sometimes? Like I'm of the opinion that if we actually had to sit down and watch a slate from 1994, from 2004 on a random Tuesday in December, that we'd see a lot of ugly hoops. So
For
I think some of the talks around, like I literally think the same circumstance has been the case forever. Like even though it's 82 and 20 teams now, it was 82 and 16 teams forever. It was the same problem. The difference is in the last 20 years, the amount of competitive options for people's attention has dramatically increased. Like I don't know about you guys, but like if I see Trae Young like come over a screen and then jump backwards into a dude and go to the foul line, I just immediately get on my phone. I'm like, all right, I have 30 seconds to talk shit on Twitter or like text a buddy or something. Like you get like it's just so easy to occupy yourself not watching an NBA game that like why would you watch if there's not a real competitive urgency taking place? And like I think that really is the main reason why leagues like the NFL, where they have tons of urgency, of like the NFL is still on any given night the best thing you can watch because they're going to play hard and it feels like the game matters.
But I
And
actually
and it's
I want to I think Miles Brown or someone on Twitter made the point of like there's no doubt like even the old heads in the NFL are saying like the level of play in the NFL is not what it used to be either. They don't have the established stars that they had either. Like
And the
but
product
thing
isn't as good, he was saying too.
is
Like,
not.
you know
But
what
the
I'm saying?
thing that the NFL has is they have urgency within the fans because of the huge percentage of NFL viewers who are gambling and because of the huge percentage of NFL watchers who are playing fantasy sports. So a receiver in a blowout game getting a first down 15-yard catch, there's a ton of people in America who are like living and dying with that. And I don't know that that's
a good point.
replicatable. I don't know that that's replicatable for another league. I think that like people might just have to let the NFL go. You know what I mean? It's like they got it. They're the whole economy where they're 96 of the top 100 watched programs in America this year. Like we're not trying to compete with that. But and you know that's been the sort of the non-alarmist response on the NBA stuff. I actually really agreed with something Bill Simmons said on his show yesterday, which was this like you said it, Jason. Like this happens with the NBA. This is cyclical. That it's like, oh, the ratings are down. Tyler made the point on the last pod. It's dynasties. Everyone's watching the Warriors. Everyone was watching Braun. Like you don't currently have that feeling. And you know, Simmons' thing is like everyone figures it out. Social media numbers are all better than every other league. The ratings outside of America are better than, you know, obviously everywhere. So like
it's an inventory sport. Like that's the thing. Like to your point, you said like give up on the NFL. That's kind of the way I said the same thing to Colin on his show like last year after the finals. Like the NFL is an entirely different entity than the NBA in the sense that the NFL is an urgency sport and the NBA is an inventory sport. We give you so many highlights, so many games over such like the season lasts 9 months. Like it's so like it everything with the NBA is about like adding on top of each other, like stacking. Whereas the NFL is like, look at this big fucking number that we put up in this Cowboys Niners Sunday afternoon game. And it's like to your point, the NBA will never touch that. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but like the average NBA regular season game like barely outperforms the average WNBA regular season game. Like they don't hit TV numbers. That's not really how they make their money, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Also, they're in a transitional period. You know what I'm saying? Where like the most popular players aren't the most dominant players or the most dominant teams anymore. You feel me? So like I think that plays into it where like it was Bron very popular, Steph very popular, KD very popular, and they were always vying. You know what I'm saying? These big names were vying to win championships or competing with each other to win championships. It doesn't necessarily feel like that right now, where the most popular players are like, you know, the ass end of the league, you know, currently.
Tyler, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say I think a lot of that discussion about how the NBA is losing its way is nostalgia driven.
I agree.
And to John's credit, you know, we're for sure in a transition period, right? The Bron, KD, and Steph era is over. As far as like ratings, like the league is at a place now where there's so much parity. Like there's about 5 or 6 teams that I can legit see winning a championship, right? And we have seen that I think the golden age that everyone is referring to is it starts with Magic's rookie season when he won a ring, and it ends with MJ's last season with the Bulls, right? That 18-year span of 1980 to 1998, right? And in that span of 18 seasons, Magic, Bird, and MJ won 14 out of those 19
That's
titles,
so
right?
crazy.
Right.
That's so
And that was
crazy.
when business was booming. That's what draws the casual fans in when they're seeing history being made, when they're seeing dynasties being established, when they're seeing, NBA greats ascend to that god status, like, that upper tier, that upper echelon, like that Bird and Magic and Braun and MJ occupy, and Steph and the Warriors, right? So yeah, I think we're in a transition period where we don't have, a dynasty in place, and I think that's for sure playing a part here. And also think that the way shit is structured now with the new CBA, I don't know if we're ever going to see another dynasty, really.
It's too expensive.
That's the
Or
fascinating part of this,
restrictive.
though,
Yeah.
is they've legislated away from what the strength of their league has always been, right? Like, that's the part of it that if you're looking for a reason to actually be worried about this, I think that's what it is, because I don't know that you capture the national imagination with, well, the Rockets popped one off and had a great year this year. I don't know that is, it's what Tyler said. It's the big canvas. It's sort of background noise, except for those of us who are addicts for 9 months. You get to the playoffs, people want to watch the Giants fight, that's that. And so, yeah, and they're trying everything they can do to keep those 30 Fortune 500 CEOs happy. But that's not what actually has made them into a successful league. So I'm curious to see how that plays out.
We've had shitty conference finals and finals 2 years in a row. I think that like it's been a consistent issue where we just haven't produced good high leverage basketball. The two things I would add, one, to your point, Tyler, like, I think that it's important to acknowledge that we will never get to the point with TV ratings that we were at in the 90s because of the competitive forms of media. Like, even the Jordan Bulls dynasties would not hit 30 million for NBA Finals games now. There's just too many competitive options. That said, to your point, we would do better than we have been doing. The second piece that I think is important to acknowledge is we don't really have a good base of American stars right now, because of the decline of KD, Steph, and LeBron. Like I think if we fast forward 5 years and Anthony Edwards is one of the 5 best players in the league and John Morant's one of the 5 best players in the league, and if Cooper Flag's on the rise and we have like a bunch of American players that are kicking butt, I think we might have a better chance of capturing a bigger audience. But that's part of the issue too, is like legitimately the 4 best players in the league right now are all not American. And I wonder how much that plays a role.
Yeah. I mean, I'd be surprised, how many everyday Americans know who Victor Wembanyama is, and he is like the most exciting thing we've seen in 20 years since Bron, right? But yeah, I think that is for sure a problem there too.
Yeah. Hopefully Ant's the chosen one, guys. He's 22 years old, and like here's the thing with Ant, he has become one of the best 3-point shooters in the league already. He's 22. He's playing on a team that literally can't create space for him. At some point in his mid-20s, he's going to be on a team that can give him the space to operate, and no one's going to be able to stop him because he can drive past everybody and he can shoot over everybody. And if he has one of those iconic run where he wins a title and he can capture the American people the way that MJ or LeBron or Steph or KD did, that's where I think there could be a pretty substantial like kind of movement that forms behind a player. Ant's the one, guys. He's the guy who can save us.
The chosen one. And he's the best interview in the league. That counts.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Well, and like this is embarrassing because of how commercialized like we all are to our core. At least I am, I guess. But like, the Ant Miss Sprite commercials, the Anticlaus Sprite Miss commercials. I literally like watched those commercials and I was like, now that feels like basketball culture right there. Like that's like, I was like, that feels like my childhood. You know what I mean? Like, but like Vinny like loves those he'll run in to see that commercial because he loves Ant. And it's like, it's a funny commercial, right? Like we all had that with like the Braun puppet, commercials or the Kobe commercials when we were kids. Like, I do think there is an element of this that is vibes and that is like bigger than style of play or whatever else. It's just like, I don't know, man. Like when your kid goes to school, are all his friends talking about basketball, or are they talking about the new Lion King movie? You know what I mean? Like, I do think that that's part of it, because we grew up in an ecosystem where that was it. Like, yes, we cared about football, whatever, but it was basketball. Like, it was basketball video games, basketball cards, it was basketball rap albums. Like, it was fucking basketball as a world. You know what I mean?
Do you guys believe in Ant? Are you guys as high on him as I am?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Absolutely.
Speaking about like the commercials, those Adidas commercials had people that aren't even into basketball talking about them. People that aren't basketball fans are wearing Adidas because they're fans of Ant. Like, it reached, like, it was important to the culture. And those Adidas commercials are just based off of his friendships and personality alone. Like, they just let Ant be Ant. Like, it's a backdrop, very, bland backdrop with Ant just being himself. You know what I mean?
So somebody said when Nike,
not bland, but
when Nike unveiled the alien logo and nickname for Wemby, right? So someone tweeted, it was like, whether you think this is sad or not, this is the best thing for if you care about the health of basketball long term, this dude having a cool logo and brand is like,
it's so important.
It's very significant, and it feels dorky and lame to say that, but it is super, super significant that, like, that is what casual fans latch onto. That's what captures imagination, is like an image that, like, that's what it is with Kobe. Talking about Kobe versus Tim Duncan. Kobe is a platonic representation of the idea of a certain type of competitiveness or grit or whatever that people like, the accountants at over here who don't watch basketball have a Kobe Bryant poster up on the wall or whatever, because they're attached to that idea. You know what I mean?
This was also true even before Michael Jordan. Like, Bird and Magic in those Reebok commercials, like that. Yeah, that existed.
Commerce.
40
Jordan
years
just perfected it.
He, but obviously,
yeah, with the band Jordan 1s off rip.
Of course, my point is just that it's always been true. Even if you don't like it, it's always been true.
Yeah, and I'm also like, man, I was talking to a friend about this. Like, I miss that era, because like Jordan going to the 92 Olympics with the focus of, I'm going to leave this and it's my league. Fuck, when you have that guy going with like Magic Bird, like Mary Bird was an end, you know what I'm saying? But like, these guys were older, but that guy coming in with that mindset, like, I don't know if we have that anymore. I think Ant's the closest to that. You know what I'm saying? Where he's speaking like, I'm the guy. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I think Ant wants it.
Yeah, but it minds, and I feel like we kind of need that, where we need guys that, I'm friends with these dudes, I respect these dudes, I look up to them in a certain way, but fuck them too. It needs to be fuck them sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Like,
and is Zion like that? I'm not sure. There's a lot of guys that have come up in the league out of America in the last 10 years that haven't been wired that way. Like, even Jason Tatum, as good as he is, I feel like he doesn't have that fuck you streak. There's just there just aren't. Like, I think Ja Morant has it.
Yeah, Ja has it.
Ja has it. Ja's just Ja reminds me, the difference between Ja and Ant reminds me a lot of the difference between like LeBron and Kobe, where like LeBron and Ja are like showmen, and they're very much like benevolent, happy characters, but deep down they want to kill you. Whereas like Ant, Kobe types, they're like, I'm telling you, I want to kill you. Like that's the difference. But yeah, they're definitely, that is such an important, that nastiness is such an important piece, and we definitely don't have enough of it coming up in our young American prospects for sure.
Like, there's so much money during the game. You know what I'm saying? Hitting a shot on KD woofing, like, we need that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You respect off the court afterwards, but like, I'm letting you know, this is I'm here and this is me right now, bro. You watch, fuck nigga. You know what I'm saying? And then you show love afterwards. You know what I'm saying? But
dude, I was watching like a Knicks Magic game the other day, and like Karl Anthony Towns was like talking a bunch of shit to Mo Wagner, and I saw like some fans like explaining behind the scene. They're like, "Oh yeah, these two have bad blood going back to this and this," and it's like, that's amazing. That's what I mean. Like, I mean, we need it not with Kat and Mo Wagner, but
yeah. But we need that somewhere else. Yeah.
You need that hate, like. It's there between the Grizzlies and the Lakers. Every time the Grizzlies and Lakers play each other, you can tell they fucking hate each other, and it makes for an entertaining game every time. And we just need more of that. We need more We need more hate. That's the moral
More
of
pain.
today's show. The moral of today's show. More hate, please.
Oh man.
All right, I guess
Hate
that's a good note.
inspires.
That's a
Hate
good note to
inspires.
end on December 19th. All right.
Merry Christmas, guys.
Yeah. Merry Christmas, Jason. Thanks for hopping on with us, bro. Appreciate you. Thanks to everyone for listening. We'll be back on Sunday night with our next live after the NFL Sunday night game, and we'll see y'all then. Bye.
Bye.